All right, John, and we start off every national championship, conference championship with the 4x100 meter relay. There are the records. LSU with that collegiate record from 2 years ago. The Florida Gators have the meet record from 6 years ago, and Auburn, the best team in the country in 2025, and they are in this final in lane 6. Their quartet was there on the side of your screen. Azim Fahmy will be the leadoff runner for Auburn, with Maka Charamba anchoring. South Florida right next to them on their outside. There is their personnel with Saminu on the anchor.
And the 200-meter specialist for South Florida, he'll go second leg, that long back straight, Jalil Kroll. And here's the Big Ten champ. These guys took down USC, Southern Cal at the Big Ten championships. And I got a chance to talk to the coaches of the 3 teams that we just saw, Minnesota, Auburn, and South Florida. The one thing they all have in common, over the last, almost this entire outdoor season, they've run the same quartet. I talked to the Minnesota coach. He said this team was put together and decided clear back in December. It's all about consistency. It's all about getting that baton around. Talked to Ken Harden at Auburn. He made a change. He made a change mid-season. He put in Israel Okon for Dario Matau, but that only lasted 1 week, and Dario Matau was back in the lineup. This is the lineup that they have been running so well in, and they became the collegiate leader, dipping under 38 flat in the semifinals. Azim Fahmy has led off this team all season long.
Also watch for Tennessee in lane 5, right in the midst of those other 3 teams we mentioned. Auburn with the best time in the country. Let's see if they can snatch the title here. Fahmy with a little bit of encroach on the stagger to the outside, and a great backstretch run by Ajayi of Auburn. Tough pass there, that second pass. Minnesota now getting into the mix. South Florida is well back. Auburn passes first, but there's Minnesota. Minnesota in 4, Auburn in 6. It's going to be Auburn. 38-34 unofficially, but the time is inconsequential. It's the 10 points. And the national title is what matters to Coach Leroy Burrell and defending the title from last season.
Well, the last time we had back-to-back champions was clear back in 2017 and 2018. And who was the head coach of that Houston team? That was Leroy Burrell. And Auburn, they definitely were a little bit crisp and a little bit cleaner in the semifinal. But you're absolutely right, Dwight. Doesn't matter how you do it. Get to the line first. There you see South Florida in the black uniform. Auburn, white tops, orange bottoms. Nice, solid handoff from me to Ajayi. Ajayi runs that back straight really well. We'll get a chance to see him. He was the fastest qualifier in the 100 meters. But they gave up some ground. But here is where South Florida gave up a couple of missed hand passes there. But that's the 3rd leg of Dario Matau. Now all he has to do is give it to the big guy, and it was not a super clean pass for Auburn and really close to the ends of the exchange zone. But look at USC. That's Caleb for USC coming up on the outside for 2nd place for the Trojans. Well, Minnesota was in there as well, and I thought, can Charamba hold off the Minnesota runner? But watch the Minnesota there in the middle. Golden Gopher pulls up right there 20 meters to the end. But Maka Charamba and this Auburn team has done it again.
And Minnesota was really gaining ground, and their anchor, Divine Augustine, caught a cramp or a strain or something, but Auburn Tigers, they win it over the Trojans, and LSU always there, but not the winner. Auburn, 10 points, and the team is downstairs with John.
I do have the entire team here, but I don't think I have 38.33 seconds to talk to everybody. So I'm going to start with you because, Dario, 3rd leg, you hand off the champ. You got in good position. Tell me about your leg to get it into the best position to hand off to the anchor.
I mean, the guy gave me the baton. I looked up. I could see LSU. I could see USC. It's all about running down that leg, closing that gap because it's the stagger. And I know if I'm right next to them, then I'm ahead of them. And from that, you know, I hit the zone, wait for him to pick up his hand, and I give him the stick. And I know no one's running him down, so, you know.
Tell me how this 100 meters, the last one when you get it in a handoff, is different from the open 100 meters.
I mean, these three guys trust me to bring the stick home, so once I get the stick, I just enter in beast mode, and nobody's going to catch me because I feel like I can use my height to my advantage, and that's what happened.
Beast mode. Real quick, show me the stick work. Just pass it around. Just here and then here. Let's go. Ready? Let's go.
Yes! Ooh! Ooh! Hey! Ooh! Hey!
Winner, winner, chicken dinner, Dwight.
All right, John. All right, Auburn off to a great start with 10 points in the relay, defending their title from last year. Lots of track and field left over the next couple of hours. Team title still up for grabs.
Back here at Hayward Field for the 2025 NCAA Outdoor Track and Field Championships. Last year, 71 programs scored. These are the up-to-minute standings, not 71 in contention, but really it's close. Minnesota up top, New Mexico legit. Gators the three-time defending champs. SC and Auburn not high yet, but they'll move up the board. What I'm saying is there are a lot of points, and they're spread out. Also, what I'm saying is that we've started something terrific, but we're nowhere close to finishing it. Talked to a bunch of the coaches who are in contention, and they all said almost exactly the same thing. If things go perfect, if we get some help, get a break, we can win. So what we have is a bunch of hopefuls, but nobody's overconfident by any means. I'm going to do just some quick math. There's 819 points available, which means if you can get 5% of those, 41 points, you can win. Gators did last year. 6% is 49. That probably sews things up here. The biggest thing you got to know is if you dope this thing out, you're going to look like a dope. Like, here's people in contention. USC, A&M, Auburn, Arkansas, New Mexico, Minnesota. You know, there's just so many that I'm going to let Dwight and Dan and Lara sort this whole thing out. Guys?
All right, John, well, to your point, and Dan O'Brien, everybody's in this. Anybody who's got an athlete in this meet is in this as a team. It seems maybe the most we've ever seen.
We can't sort this thing out. So prior to this meet, coaches and statisticians, they got together and they said, here's how this meet's going to go and here's how the points are going to go. But what we do know, the points are going to change in the first half hour of this particular meet. And teams talk about being perfect today. Perfection is unattainable. That's just not going to happen today. But here you see the scores so far, and then the remaining scoring chances. That's something we really have to keep a look at. USC continues to have the most scoring chances. But you talk to teams who have won this championship, Texas A&M, Arkansas, teams that know how to win this championship, they would love for this to come down to the last event, the 4x400 meter relay.
Okay, so I noticed one team that you did not mention, and that is a team with only 3 athletes. And were they to go perfect, they could possibly win the title in an unprecedented way. Just 3 athletes on the team.
You're exactly right, Dwight. That's because that trio of New Mexico athletes, they are among the top 2 in the NCAA in their respective events. You saw the 18 points that they already have on the board. That's thanks to a 1-2 finish in the men's 10,000 on the first night of competition. Freshman Ishmael Kip-Karui took the title. Hoptum Samuel finished second. They'll be back on the track in the 5,000 later. They're looking to big points from freshman Matthew Kosgei, who's been the second fastest in the steeplechase among collegians so far this outdoor season.
All right, the next event on the track, the 1,500 meter final. Liam Murphy came in with a collegiate record but did not make the final. Sydney Murray still the meet record holder 44 years later. As we look at the main competitors, Ethan Strand, the junior from North Carolina, holds the collegiate record in the indoor mile and the 3,000.
Also second on the all-time collegiate list. Won the NCAA championship indoors at 3,000 meters. Now we'll look to do that at 1,500 meters, and this is one of the biggest threats. It is the Olympian Adam Spencer from the University of Wisconsin, the top qualifier from Wednesday, also the top returner in this event, having finished 3rd last year. Gary Martin from the University of Virginia, certainly a threat here, solidified himself as a national championship threat during the indoor season when he anchored their distance medley relay to the NCAA title.
Cut the field in half on Wednesday, 24 down to these 12. This is the coolest of the 4 days that we have had here in Eugene, or 3 days so far. It's going to be warmer tomorrow. Just 68 degrees at meet time and not a lot of wind so far. That's good news for everybody. Simeon Birnbaum of Oregon leading early on. Spencer in the rear of the pack.
Jack Kroll from Bradley up there. He was fantastic in qualifying, looked incredibly threatening. Talked to his coach today, Andrew Carlson, said that he is super excited to be here and to have given himself a chance to contend among what is such a stacked field of talent in this event. Also, you gotta note when it comes to the 1500, the presence, the University of Washington, they've won 3 straight 1500 meter titles. Nathan Green won this event 2 years ago. Coach Andy Powell has had an athlete at least one in the men's 1500 meter final 16 of the last 17 years. As they go through in 63 seconds, look at how relaxed Ethan Strand there is in the powder blue of North Carolina on the shoulder of Adam Spencer at this point.
Not exactly a scintillating pace, but this is championship racing. The time is inconsequential. It's the place, it's the points. And you can see these athletes bunching up as Birnbaum slows down even further. Birnbaum with Spencer on his shoulder, Strand in the inside part of lane number 2, staying out of trouble.
And a lot of these athletes have phenomenal finishing kicks. That is one risk that you have in this, in leaving a lot of the athletes in, as almost everyone has outstanding closing speed.
Gary Martin is there on the inside of lane 2, staying out of trouble on Strand's shoulder. Coming around, this was an even slower lap. 68 seconds, so lots of run left in these athletes. We're going to see a bunch of pushing and shoving as athletes are getting in position because they know the move is going to be made soon.
And you can see that was Nathan Green, who has won this event, fighting his way up front. He gets very feisty in race situations. He is such a dog in these type of situations. He will not back down from a fight. I think you saw that right there as he fought himself onto the shoulder of Adam Spencer. Adam Spencer has the best career time run of any athlete in this field.
All the way out into lane 3 now these athletes are without the bell. Spencer into the lead with Green right there. Birnbaum on the rail starting to go backwards. Gary Martin is there. Strand has moved well back in the pack and is a little bit boxed. A 58-second tour of the last 400, and now it's on. Spencer of Wisconsin, Green of Washington. Damian Hackett of Cornell, they're still in lane number 2 running extra distance. Gary Martin now moving out to try and get a clear path. Strand is stuck in the back, but now he's making a move. He's got to go way wide if he's going to have a chance. Spencer and Green up front. Martin struggling. Strand with a head of steam on the outside. Here comes Green, but here comes Strand. Running out of real estate. It's going to be Green at the tape with Ethan Strand just running out of room. Left it a little too late. A 25.5 last 200 meters for the Husky. 51.5 over the last 400 meters.
Nathan Green with one of the most ferocious finishing kicks you will see in this field. Look at the emotion. It does not get any closer than that finish. Everyone is in it, coming off the turn. We have seen Nathan Green close out national championship races. He does not see Ethan Strand coming to his outside. Look at how he digs, throws everything at that finish line. Ethan Strand just ran out of time to close in on Nathan Green. That is why Coach Andy Powell calls Nathan the fiercest competitor. Ethan Strand is getting everything he can, but Nathan Green just timed that kick perfectly. That's how bad he wants it. Takes a tumble onto the track. I think Adam Spencer went down too. That is one of the most thrilling race finishes that you will see as Washington wins 4 straight men's 1,500-meter titles.
Last to do it, Villanova. 3 with Marty LaCory, 1 with David Patrick. Nathan Green, the champion, is downstairs with John.
All right, thank you, Dwight. You told me you didn't forget the year between those championships. What was it like to be a champ, not be the champ, and come back and win again?
It's hard to describe. I won when I was a sophomore, and 20 years old and you win a title. It's really hard to follow that up, no matter what age you are. So to do it again here, it just shows the growth. It shows everything that's happened. Like, it was for a reason, and I trusted my coaches and I trusted my people in my corner, and it came out on top. It means everything.
Turning point in the race where you thought was the fulcrum that made you the victor.
300 to go, I kind of got pushed up to the front, and I just thought, this is it now. I was coming around the bend as calm as I could, and I just thought, I'm gonna have to dive because they're coming, and nobody wants it more than I do.
First to the line on a second championship, Nathan Green, and as always, Washington wins the 1,500 at the Nationals. Dwight?
4 in a row for the Huskies. We're getting ready for the steeplechase, and clearly the most important event for New Mexico. They got to win this one if they hope to win a national title.
Well, welcome back to Eugene, and seeing Olympians at this competition have become commonplace. Even Olympic medalists at these championships have been commonplace. But how about a world record holder? That young man right there, Nicholas Alekna, the junior from Cal, has never won the NCAA title. There you see what he's been able to do over the last couple of seasons. He broke the world record in back-to-back competitions, throw 247 feet 11 inches. He comes from fantastic championship stock. His father, Virgilijus Alekna, representing Lithuania, was 2-time Olympic gold medalist, 2-time world champion gold medalist. And Alekna would get today's competition started off with a big throw in the first round. He would look to put this thing away early, and he would go 218 feet on that first attempt. He redshirted last season, but the folks in for a treat here to see a world record holder at work.
All right, Dan, next event on the track, the steeplechase. Henry Rono still holds the collegiate and meet records. Jeffrey Kerwa, who is in this field from Louisville, has the best time in the country amongst collegians, but this is a key race for that team, New Mexico, and this man, freshman Matthew Kosgei, who is the silver medalist from the U20 championships last year. A lot of weight on his shoulders, Laura.
Second fastest this season in this event, behind Geoffrey Kerwa of Louisville. Won the main section of the steeplechase at the Stanford Invitational, also winner of the Mountain West Conference steeplechase. There is Geoffrey Kerwa from the University of Louisville, second fastest in collegiate history. And in talking to his coach, Joe Franklin, he says this is shaping up to be one of the best men's steeplechases ever that we have seen at a national championship meet. And from BYU, the Olympian from last year in Paris, James Corrigan, entered the 2024 season with a personal best of 8:52.54. He then lowered that, Dwight, 7 times en route to qualifying for the Olympic Games.
So like the 1500, they cut the field in half from 24 to 12 on Wednesday. Those are the 12 on the track now. They will bypass the water jump and the first barrier in this first 200 meters. There are your list of competitors. And it is mandatory if New Mexico wants to be in the mix and win this national title with the 3 athletes they brought here, that Matthew Kosgei win this steeplechase. And there are a lot of people who are going to try and prevent him from doing that.
Got up front from the University of Kentucky, that is Collins Kiprot-Kegnock, the SEC steeplechase champion, as they navigate that first barrier. Also up there from Furman is Carson Williams, who clocked his personal best on Wednesday to qualify for this final.
It's one of the two semifinals was very quick, quicker than it needed to be, and a lot of season best and personal best were set in that heat on Wednesday.
As you're watching Matthew Kosgei alongside Geoffrey Kurwa and James Corrigan getting a great look at those top three right now, and Matthew Kosgei is a very efficient hurdler. As you see how he navigates, doesn't even put a foot on the barrier going over the water. Very strength-based type of steeple runner. So to his advantage to make this pace more honest. Geoffrey Kurwa he qualified for the NCAA cross country championships last fall, but then didn't score at the ACC indoor meet. Told Coach Joe Franklin, I cannot wait to get outdoors for the steeplechase. He's really just a different person when you put those barriers in front of him. So ran that fantastic performance earlier this season, that 8:13.89, and then went to doing some off events to sharpen himself at some different disciplines rather than pounding himself over the barriers and running a whole lot of steeplechase events. So that's why he's been able to be so fresh coming into championship season. Joash Rudo of Iowa State, this is what we saw him do in the prelim, Dwight. This is where he kind of broke the race open and forced the field to go quicker than what the rest wanted to do. Look at how Kurwa, and you can see a spill there. Often that's what you see here in the steeplechase, but how that's Christian Imroth from Eastern Kentucky. But Kurwa is so good in his efficiency and athleticism over the hurdles. Seeing how this pace is trying to position themselves to close in on that gap that Rudo has built.
Let's take a look at what happened on that last water jump attempt. You'll see that Kurwa and Kosgei both go over the barrier without touching it, but boy, Imroth really misjudged. He missed by a lot and took a full tumble. That could have been a disaster, but he is up and running again, which is a good sign. Probably be a little sore tomorrow. But this is Joash Ruto, the freshman from Iowa State, pushing the pace.
Kurwa did a great job, though, of getting immediately right back in contact. What they anticipated is that if Rudo was up there up front, he'd probably take them through in right around 64-second 400s, and then things might settle in around 67, 68. But the command from his coach to Geoffrey Kurwa was to gain a meter on someone at every barrier over the second part of the race. So you've got to make sure that you're in contact. He has the ability to do that because of just how good and efficient he is over the barriers and over the water jump. Now, make sure you're keeping an eye, though, on Matthew Kosgei. He's currently behind James Corrigan right now, kind of settled into that position. Corrigan had such an interesting journey, Dwight, to qualify for the Olympic Games. He finished top 3 here at the Olympic trials. However, James Corrigan, who is in the white top and blue bottoms, currently in about 5th position. You can see that BYU across his chest as he goes over that barrier. James Corrigan finished top 3 at the Olympic trials here at Hayward Field, but did not have the Olympic standard. So he had to find a race 6 days later in order to get the standard. Had to find an opportunity, a World Athletics certified opportunity, get a rabbit to set him up. And his coach, Ed Eyestone, said that James is just that talented. He was able to navigate it and then qualify for that Olympic team. He also said in that situation, naivety can be a little bit of a good thing for a young runner, because you just go into it with that enthusiasm and thinking nothing is going to stand in my way. So 24 was a huge learning experience for James Corrigan. This year he's really been a different, more confident runner, even doing some of his workouts with Kenneth Rooks. So getting the opportunity to train with a professional runner there on the BYU campus, and Kenneth Rooks, obviously an incredible steepler in his own right. So that has afforded James Corrigan the opportunity to see what he needs to do to go to even another level in this event.
Coming on 2.5 laps remaining, Joash Ruto, the freshman from Iowa State, continuing to push the pace. Geoffrey Kurwa right there the entire time. He covered the move. Kosgei is back middle of the pack, but behind James Corrigan. Collins Kipnok of Kentucky now into 4th. The real running is just about to start.
Carson Williams is doing a phenomenal job as well in his 3rd NCAA steeplechase appearance. Now, here's where Jeffrey Kerwa is going to start to push, because he really wants to find a good rhythm so that he can create that momentum over these barriers and not break any sort of stride.
They're on 8:20 pace. Geoffrey Kerwa, the collegiate leader, now trying to get some separation between himself and Carson Williams. Kosgei is starting to make his move to get closer to the front. There's James Corrigan of BYU in lane 2. You can see a little gap has developed, about 6-7 meters now. Kosgei isn't landing quite as close to the end of that water as he was earlier. He's well out of contact, about 20 meters back of the lead.
Look at how smooth Kerwa continues to navigate over the barriers. You can see James Corrigan is starting to close that gap, and Collins Kipnok going with him.
There's the bell. No response from Kosgei. Right now, it's all Geoffrey Kerwa as James Corrigan now into 2nd place and attempting to close that gap.
That backstretch is a great opportunity for Corrigan to try to reel in Geoffrey Kerwa. You can see how quick he is on that turnover. He is really digging in. He's now within a stride. The water barrier is going to be critical here. It's a sharp turn. You've got to build the momentum driving in.
2 barriers remaining, 1 water jump, 1 barrier. There goes Corrigan into the lead. Kerwa may have made his move too quickly. Corrigan measured him properly. 1 barrier remaining. Does Kerwa have a gear left? Corrigan and Kerwa. Corrigan's going to hold him off. James Corrigan, the Olympian, wins the NCAA title in the steeplechase.
The reaction says it all for James Corrigan. 9th in this event last year. That motivated him so much. That was what spurred the motivation to qualify, earn his spot on the Olympic team last year. Also the sportsmanship, the great respect among these competitors. This is where experience was one of the greatest benefits for James Corrigan. The opportunity to have raced on this track multiple times, the international level of experience, having an opportunity with all the pressure on you, having to run a time to get into the Olympic Games, to get the qualifying standard, and to be able to rise to the level of competition. That last water barrier is what decided it. Here is where the entirety of the race, Kerwa had been so good. He has a little bit of a stutter step, and Corrigan just projects himself much more efficiently out of the water. Corrigan digging. Now things get really close following this last hurdle. You can see Kerwa tries to dig, but Corrigan uses such great athleticism and flexes just phenomenal finishing speed.
So it hasn't been that long since BYU has won this event. Kenneth Rooks did so 2 years ago, but that's the number 4 time in NCAA history. James Corrigan wins the title over Geoffrey Kerwa, the collegiate leader, and Matthew Kosgei of New Mexico finishing way down in 6th place. Only 3 points for New Mexico. That'll take them out of the team title, but the champion is downstairs with John.
I have the champ, and only Henry Rono has ever run faster in this meet. So I don't know how you feel about having that little stat on your resume. It seems very nice. So you said you closed this race same time that you closed last year in the race and finished 9th. How is it you managed to be in position to be a champion this year as opposed to 9th?
Well, there was a lot of changes in fitness. I mean, we focused a lot on my aerobic base, making sure that I could hang at any pace. We also worked on my ability to run rounds back to back. We practiced that at my conference meet earlier this season, doubled back 24 hours apart and not even 48. And I was doing well, so I felt very confident coming in.
You said you were kind of thinking about last year when you were out there running. Like, how much time? How is your mind not focused entirely on the job at hand?
I think I was using the experiences I had last year and throughout my training to give me strength. It's hard to just think about one thing, and so instead of letting my mind wander and letting the devil do his work, I had to fill it with something. And so whether it was the next hurdle or whether it was a positive experience from last year, I was trying to fill it.
Good to stay in the moment. Congratulations, James Corrigan, NCAA champion.
Thank you so much.
Dwight, another at Stone distance runner, is really good and got a natty. Not shocked.
Well, I always say those BYU guys come down here to sea level, they're drowning in oxygen. But boy, that was a gear that I don't think everybody knew James Corrigan had. A great run for the young man from BYU.
Back here at Hayward Field, which for the longest time, it was the premier facility in the Pac-10. And before that, the Pac-8. We've had all kinds of geographic and conference realignment that none of it makes sense, so that USC and Oregon are now Big Ten schools. It means if USC follows up their indoor championship, they'll be the first team from the Big Ten to win a national title outdoors since 1948. That's when the Gophers did it. They're going to have to piece this thing together. They have 11 entries through. I don't know that any single one of them is favored to bring home 10 points. But if they can cobble it together, they might just be the first team to win indoor and outdoor since 2015. Quincy Watts looking for that first national title for the Trojans since 1976.
Looking at the indoor championship and the way we won, it wasn't perfect, but collectively, it was the best effort, and that's how you want to win a team title. Just collectively, we pulled together and we were able to put all the points together. And I look at that and I say that's going to spring forward. That's going to springboard us into the outdoor season because it wasn't perfect. So we're looking here to have a better meet and have some better performances and look to have a great championship.
And if they win it, it would be their 27th outdoor championship. They have more than anybody else, 26. But it's been a minute, 1976. I was not there for that championship, but Dwight Stones was. He wasn't commentating, he was a champion. Dwight?
Thank you, John. That's a great memory for me. As we get ready for the next event on the track, the 110-meter hurdles, Olympic champion and three-time world champion Grant Holloway setting the collegiate and meet records when he was at Florida. Kendrick Smallwood, who is in this final, has the fastest time amongst collegians this year. And there is Kendrick Smallwood, the junior from Texas, co-collegiate leader. Tore his abductor muscle last year, but here he is in the final of the NCAA meet.
Well, all season long, he has turned back challengers. He won the Florida relays, he won the Texas relays, he won the SEC championships. And talking to Coach Flo, I said, how do you want him to run this race today? He said, young man's got to get out. He's got to get a great start. He's got to get out early. He's got to stay out of traffic because there are some really big guys out there. This is the guy, though, that he is trying to beat, Jacoby Tharp. I think he's certainly coming into this meet as one of the favorites. Runner-up last year, top returner from last season. He's really found his rhythm here late in the season. He got a really good start in the semifinals and ran a really clean race. And Jaheim Stern talking to Dennis Mitchell, or Dennis Shaver, his coach, the sophomore Jaheim Stern. I said, what is going to be the key to his success? And he said, this young man has all the tools. He just needs to run a clean race. Jaheim Stern's going to be out there in lane 7. But there's a number of guys in this race that are going to challenge. Down there in lane 2, Jamar Marshall Jr., he's run the national leading time, same as Kendrick Smallwood, 13:13. It's an interesting race, Dwight, because there's a lot of guys here. Nobody's run 13 flat. A lot of guys here run between 13:10 and 13:21. This race really is a little bit up in the air, and it's whoever runs clean, gets a good start and runs clean is going to come out the victor.
From a team standpoint, Jacoby Tharp, the better he does, the better the Tigers of Auburn and Leroy Burrell, their head coach, do. He's in the center of the track with that 5 on his hip. Great start for Tharp. It's Jacoby Tharp and Zachary Eckstein. Eckstein is right there in lane 3. Tharp and Eckstein, Tharp and Eckstein. It's going to be Tharp, 10 points for Auburn. 13:05 officially. And the wind was a zephyr, 0.1 meters per second. Collegiate leader by a lot.
Well, Jacoby Tharp certainly is no stranger to winning. He won the gold at the U20 World Championships in 2024. He's on the Bowerman watch list. But he showed everybody right there that he is ready for the next level. 13:05. And Coach Ken Harden always talks about just what a fierce competitor Jacoby Tharp is. He said it doesn't matter whether it's sprinting, doesn't matter whether it's playing basketball. Even in a workout, he's such a fierce competitor, and that is the best start we've certainly seen him have all season long. It was Kendrick Smallwood who came into the meet undefeated, and Jacoby Tharp will hand him his first loss. But look at Zach Eckstein, the junior from Arizona, blaze away on the inside. He said he was coming here to win a title, but look how controlled Jacoby Tharp is, and look how clean. Not a single hurdle did he touch.
Number 5 performer in collegiate history. Number 3 time in the world this year for Jacoby Tharp. Zachary Eckstein with a big lifetime best in second. Kendrick Smallwood hit a bunch of hurdles at the end, ended up not scoring. Champion downstairs with John.
Had a decent start. All right, thank you, Dwight. Jacoby and I missed each other at SECs. I said, oh, I'll talk to you afterwards, and he came in second. Nice run, but it's not like winning the national championship. All right, you said low-key you did the start, meaning what?
My start was a lot better than any other round I've ran this season, but I'm glad it happened now, not earlier.
13:05, it was tight there into the last couple of hurdles. Could you feel it?
Yes, sir. I kind of got a little sloppy at the end, but I managed to get it through. Coach told me to trust what we've been doing in practice. I trusted it, and the results showed.
I don't know who the Auburn ticket guy is, but it's perfect that Mom was right here. Tell me about your mom and the role she's had in your success.
She my rock, my heartbeat. Like every meet, I text her, I call her the night before, think about the meet, but she just told me to relax and trust my coach, and that's what I did.
There you go, 10 big points for Auburn as they try to make up for the title they missed by a point last year, Dwight, because, well, somebody finished second in the hurdles. This year, he's the champ. Congratulations, Jacoby.
Thank you, sir.
All right, John. Tyrone Akins, the last Auburn Tiger to win the hurdles at the NCAA championships. At Jacoby Tharp, last year the runner-up, now the champion. And 10 more points for Auburn. Everything going well. They appear to be on cruise control, and they got another favorite in the next race, the men's 100-meter final.
Let's go to the main straightaway and take a look at the triple jump. This is Brandon Green Jr., the junior from Oklahoma. He was your SEC champ. He was third the last 2 seasons at this national meet, trying to work his way up. But on a first attempt, he would send one out there, 54.5 1/4, and take an early lead. This is Floyd Whitaker. Not the boxer, the triple jumper, but the senior from Oklahoma. This is his second attempt, and he would try to match his teammate, but come up just a little short, 52.9 1/2, but they're through 3 rounds of jumping in the triple jump, and Brandon Green Jr. is your leader.
And over on the high jump, the men's high jump, this is Kason O'Reilly, the senior at Texas State, transferred from Arkansas, where he was 5th at the SEC meet last year, but he's over clean on his first attempt at 7.2 1/2. Won the Mount Sac relays this year. There's his teammate, 2 Bobcats leading the high jump. Aiden Hayes of Texas State, also 2025 Sun Belt Outdoor Champion, 12th at the NCAA Indoor, and he's also over on a first attempt at 7.2 1/2. The bar goes up. Here are the standings after 12 events concluded. Minnesota with 25 points. New Mexico right there at 21. Auburn just 1 back with those 2 victories they've already had today. All right, next event on the track. Hurdles have been removed. The 100 meters collegiate record held by world champion Christian Coleman. He has the meet record, of course, as well. And Abdul Rashid Samanu of South Florida, the collegiate leader in 2025. And there is Kanyansola Ajayi of Auburn. He is in this race in the middle of the track in lane 5. He was part of that successful 4x100-meter relay. He ran the backstretch leg.
Well, he had just perfect execution in the semis on Wednesday. And we talked about the scoring opportunities for Auburn. They also have another Auburn Tiger down in lane 3. Israel Okon will go down there. He ran 10:07, but I'll tell you, a lot of young people are high on this young man. I asked Coach Dennis Shaver at LSU, I said, Jelani Watkins, how is he running so well? And he said, Danny's a football player. And he says he has some things that you just cannot coach. He says you can coach him up and give him all the conditioning, but this guy wants to win. He figures out how to get in front, and probably the toast of NCAA track this year has been Jordan Anthony. A big surprise. He's taken that 60-meter indoor champion success here to the outdoor championships, and he looked fantastic at the SEC championships. He's clear out there in lane 9, and Max Thomas certainly knows what is at stake for the USC Trojans. They did not compete to their best ability on Wednesday, so here you got 2 Trojans in this race with an opportunity to make up for that and get some points. You see Eddie Nkadia, the other USC Trojan, down in lane 1. T-Mars McCallum has been running really well for Tennessee. Got a couple of LSU Tigers there, both Jaden Reed and Jelani Watkins. But Canyon Sola Ajayi of Auburn, he looked the best 2 days ago.
4 teams with 2 finalists here, and then Jordan Anthony from Arkansas out there in lane 9, who did not look sharp on Wednesday in either the relay or the open 100. Has the 2 days off helped him? Great start by McCallum, but also for Okon. Israel Okon got out great. It's Okon. Israel Okon. Now here comes Jelani Watkins at the end. Watkins just outleaning Ajayi. But maybe Anthony on the outside at lane 9. Lane 9. You forget about him out there in lane 9. 10:07, and Jordan Anthony, the lone Razorback in this 100-meter final, repeats his victory from the SEC meet a month ago in Kentucky. We're all focused on the middle of the track, and nobody, including me, was looking at Jordan Anthony.
Wow, Jordan Anthony on the outside. And, you know, you're right, Dwight. He did not look sharp on Wednesday. But Ajayi didn't get the same start that he got on Wednesday. But look at Anthony really accelerating the last 30 meters and a nice timely lean. It looked like it was going to be Jelani Watkins. But the football players would go 1-3 in the 100-meter NCAA final. Max Thomas, what a comeback for him. Big points for USC there as we see the full race. And Israel Okon, what a start for the freshman down there in lane 3. But Jelani Watkins just refuses to lose, and he just worked his way up through the field. But all eyes in the middle of the track, and Jordan Anthony comes away with the victory.
There are the final results. Not a great time, but it doesn't matter when the championship is on the line. Jelani Watkins ended up 3rd by a few thousandths of a second. Auburn scoring 5 and 2, 7 points for the Tigers. But once again, Jordan Anthony lets everybody know he's the man to beat. John?
Thought it was a surprise in the 60. Thought I was surprised when he came through at the SEC. Maybe a little surprised after how you performed on Wednesday. What changed between what you showed us in the prelims and here in the final?
Nothing, just a mentality. FU mentality. Everybody had a lot to say. After Wednesday, there was no need for me to go fast. Like, all I had to do is qualify, advance, stay healthy, do what I do on Fridays or championship days. Exactly what I just did.
Key part of that race that led you to the championship?
My start. I don't care about nothing you did. Like I said previous, just the dog mentality I got in my body.
Give me a smile so we can see before you go 200. The grill is in place, and he'll be back for the half lap. Dwight?
All right, John. Well, another surprise from lane 9. Sha'Carri Richardson did it in the World Championships. Everybody missed her there, too. Jordan Anthony, 100-meter champ, maybe should think seriously about not playing football anymore and just run track. All right, when we come back, 400-meter final. The NCAA Track and Field Championships continue through tomorrow, ESPN2 and ESPN Plus. For more information, go to ncaa.com, your home for all 90 NCAA championships.
Well, we hyped up Nicholas Alekna in the discus. Let's see how he did. This is Ralford Mullings, the junior from Oklahoma, on his third attempt. The Olympian from Jamaica would send one way back. You always know it's a good sign when the officials have to do a little back step. He was 16th at these championships last year. He would go 221 feet and break the meet record. This is Vladislav Puchko, the sophomore from Virginia Tech and Belarus in the 5th round. He would send out a big throw. He was second at the ACC Outdoor Championships, 2:09.9 for a personal best. And he would move to the top of the podium. Here is the world record holder in the 5th round. Alekna needs to improve. Line drive. Doesn't look like it's going to be enough in the 5th round. It was farther than his 1st round, though, 219 feet. But this would be Nicholas Alekna's final opportunity to take this championship, and he would put it into the net. He was the final thrower of this competition, chasing Ralford Mullins. 221-foot throw in the 3rd round. And here's Mullins up for his swan song throw, the 6th and final throw of this competition for him, and he would go even farther. A meet record in the 3rd round, and here in the 6th round, just under 70 meters. He'd go 227 feet, 4 inches, and just beat the meet record from earlier today. But Ralford Mullins would keep Nicholas Alekna from that NCAA title and bring one home for the Sooners.
There are the final results, and Alekna still looking for that NCAA title. And after 13 events, Auburn with a 2-point lead over Minnesota. They are at the top of the podium for the first time. They had 0 points coming into today. Arkansas has now moved up to 3rd place thanks to Jordan Anthony's victory in the 100 meters. Okay, next event, the 400 meters. 1 lap of this oval. Michael Norman has the collegiate and meet records. And Makai Danzi has the collegiate lead, but he had to withdraw from this competition because of an injury. And in lane 6, this is the sophomore from Alabama, Samuel Ogazi, who made it look easy on Wednesday in his prelim, running 44.77. He is the top returner from last year. He was the runner-up in 2024.
Well, he's the only athlete to run under 45 seconds in the semifinals, and you're absolutely right, Dwight. He made it look really easy. A lot of control there. And look for him to be the guy leading the way down the back straight today. And here's Gabriel, Maranta Jr. made the move from 800 meters down to the 400, and I think that move certainly is paying off. Here at his NCAA debut, finding his way all the way to the finals. Here. And keep an eye on William Jones out in lane 8. USC, another scoring opportunity. And talking to the sprint coaches over there at USC, said William has to stay in contact. He's such a good closer. He's so strong, but he has got to stay in contact. Another opportunity for some points to a team that knows how to win a championship. There's Ahmad Robinson for Texas A&M. And I got the chance to talk to Pat Henry. I said, how should Ahmad Robinson run this race today? And he says he's really not sure. He's got to go for it. And we saw him run a fantastic relay leg in the 4x4. And I said, why doesn't he run every 400 meters like that? And he says he runs with such passion. He puts so much into each race that he sometimes can't come back and replicate it in the next round. But he's had a full day off now. I expect to see him really fresh here in the finals.
Important scoring opportunity for USC with William Jones in lane 8. Robinson in 3, Ogazi in 6, Maranta in 7, and Jones of USC in 8. And Ogazi's making a move, making up the stagger on Maranta to his outside on the backstretch. This is exactly what he did, Dan, on Wednesday in the prelims.
Well, he's such a strong closer. He just needs to work on the first part of his race. And Coach Blaine Wiley said, I want to see him get tall. I want to see him have control down the back straight. And I want to see him control this corner and put this field away at 300 meters.
Joseph Taylor of Duke, the freshman, trying to hang with him, but there's no doing that. Samuel Ogazi's running away with it. Here comes William Jones trying to get second place points for the Trojans. And then Gabriel Magnoranta ends up snatching that second spot, but William Jones gets third. That's 6 points for USC. Ogazi 44.84, so a little bit slower than what he ran on Wednesday, but no less dominant, and he takes the 10 points for Alabama.
Well, I love the shake of the head there. He shook his head and said, nobody can catch me. But check this stat out, Dwight. That's his 10th run in the last year under 45 seconds, and he's barely 19 years old. This young man is absolutely killing it right now. But Coach Blaine Wiley said, I want to see him get tall down the back straight. I want to see him control that second turn, and then I want to see him put this field away at 300 meters, and that's exactly what Sam Ogazi did. And I expected him to run under 45 seconds today, but can you believe the performances that he has had? Comes in here not only as the top returner, but as the man to beat, and he gets the job done for Alabama.
So Samuel Ogazi looking good on Wednesday to qualify through, and was the class of the field here, the only one under 45 seconds. Gabriel Magnoranta of South Florida ekes out William Jones for second, but 6 big points for the Trojans, and Samuel Ogazi is downstairs with John.
I'm the only guy that get this close to him in the entire race. You put those guys away early. Tell me the race plan going in and how it executed throughout.
My coach say, run the first 200 and just walk the last 200. So that's what I did, and it turns out good. So yeah.
Was there a part that was the most difficult over those 400 meters?
The most difficult part is the wind, because it's cold, and that's the most difficult part. But I just have to execute and do my thing. So yeah.
Cold and windy. You got your name on the front of your bib. Let's see the back of it and tell me what you got here.
Okay. So this says Oluwa is involved. Oluwa in Yoruba means God, so God is involved.
God's involved. God is good for Samuel Ogazi in this race. He's the champ at 400 meters here at the NCAA meet. Dwight?
All right, John. Pretty good name that last won the 400-meter title for Alabama. Karani James, the Olympic champion from Grenada, won it twice in 2010 and 2011, and now it's Sam Ogazi in 2025. Men's 800 meters when we return to Eugene.
All right, let's go back over to the triple jump here. A couple of Oklahoma Sooners at the top of the leaderboard, but they were joined by Kevon Tatham of Florida State. This is his third round attempt, and he would bounce one out to 16 meters 23, 53 feet and 3 inches to move into third place. But here's Brandon Green, your leader. After 2 rounds, we're seeing third round jumps here. And he would stretch his lead out just a little bit further, 54 feet, 11 1/4, and his teammate certainly not far behind. This is Floyd Whitaker, the senior from Oklahoma. Looked like the Sooners had things going on the runway. And in the third round, he would put out his best jump of the competition, 53 feet, 10 1/4. But as it stands now, 2 Sooners with a Florida State Seminole in the top 3 spots in the men's triple jump.
All right, after that 400-meter performance, Auburn and USC now tied at the top of the leaderboard, with Minnesota stuck there at 25. Arkansas still at 4th place and 22 points. New Mexico, they got to get both those guys in the 5,000 meters to score 1-2 to move up. All right, we had 1 lap fast. Now it's time to go 2 laps fast. 9. But before we do that, let's go live to the triple jump, which we love. We love live field.
Well, here's Brandon Green and his 4th round jump. He is your leader. Well, and that looks like it could be a little bit farther, but was it a foul? And it looks like they're going to measure that. I do not see a red flag.
But I see an X in the box.
There we go. So, yes, it was a foul.
Long foul as we get ready now for the 800 meters. 9 competitors. Here are the records. Michael Cerrone, when he was at UTEP, setting the collegiate record, meet record by Donovan Brazier, the world champion at one time. And Christian Jackson, the fastest in the country this year from Virginia Tech, and he is in this race and will start in lane number 6. He is the conference, ACC conference outdoor champion this year.
Making his NCAA debut, and although this has been of a breakout season for him, he says that in his head, he is the man to beat. From other people from the outside in, they may think he's only had 1 or 2 good performances, so he's not coming in with a ton of pressure, but he treats this not like a sport, treats it like a craft that he is mastering.
And there's an important Arkansas story in this 800.
That's Tyrese Taylor, who is in lane 5, one of 2 Razorbacks. Tyrese Taylor was the top qualifier from the semifinal, running his personal best. So clearly proving that he is sharp when it matters most. Getting a look there at Aiden McCarthy from Cal Poly, ran a really impressive race, 1:45.1. That was indoors earlier this year. And keep in mind, too, you have 2 Oregon Ducks in this field. That's the indoor champion. On the outside, that is Maddie Erickson, one to note. And then we also have Sam Whitmarsh from Texas A&M. He finished runner-up in this event 1 year ago. And the command to Sam Whitmarsh to avenge that loss from last year from his 800-meter coach at A&M, Paul Ehring, was do not let anyone else dictate the race. If you wait for somebody else to go and take this, you're already behind.
Arkansas also has Rivaldo Marshall in this final, and you don't know what kind of a race you're ever going to get out of him. He can take it all or end up in the back of the pack. And with them, the Arkansas Razorbacks moving up the leaderboard, there's a lot of pressure on these 2 800-meter finalists for the Hogs. So Sam Whitmarsh, who usually likes to go to the front, doesn't appear to be challenging for that very hard in the opening 100 meters. And it's going to be Jackson, Christian Jackson from Virginia Tech. There is Tyrese Taylor, Matt Erickson, and then Sam Whitmarsh.
Maddie Erickson in great position right here. And you can see back of the pack, Cordadoy Kadali, he has that right shoulder taped because he took a hard fall in qualifying.
51.5 first 400. That's an honest pace. Little tangle there, but nothing happening. Here comes Marshall on the outside. Rivaldo Marshall now challenging for the lead.
Rivaldo Marshall won an NCAA title indoors when he was racing for Iowa. Now trying to do that for Arkansas as he has distanced himself with 200 meters to go.
There goes Sam Whitmarsh, downshifts with 200 meters to go and into the lead. Both Arkansas athletes not really with a response. It's Sam Rodman from Princeton in lane 2 trying to make a move, but here comes Sam Whitmarsh. Rivaldo Marshall trying to have a response. Here comes Maddie Erickson navigating through traffic. Second's all he's going to get. Sam Whitmarsh comes back and avenges that loss from last year. Arkansas got at least 3rd with Maddie Erickson of Oregon 2nd.
Look at the embrace between the champion Sam Whitmarsh and the indoor champion Maddie Erickson after coming so close. Whitmarsh was in the lead 1 year ago. The inside of his arm there, you can see he has a message. Be not afraid is the message that he races with. Certainly ran fearlessly in the finish of that race. The move, This is where he has to battle through a lot of traffic, and Sam Whitmarsh is a big runner, so he has to really force his way through to find the opportunity. And when he made the move, did so decisively, made sure that he was aggressive enough in taking the lead that no one was going to go with him, or that he would challenge them to give everything they had. Matty Erickson throwing down everything he can. Aiden McCarthy was closing well also. But Sam Whitmarsh, the extension for victory.
We can go about 200, right?
Runner-up last year, and finally Sam Whitmarsh, the NCAA champion.
10 points for the Aggies from Whitmarsh, 7 points for the Razorbacks, with a 3rd place finish by Rivaldo Marshall and an 8th place finish by Tyrese Taylor. But Whitmarsh, after having a slow build-up to the indoor season, comes to the outdoor championships and takes the victory in his senior year. And he's with John.
Thank you, Dwight. It's a good thing you got it down to me. Sam's got an adoring public. He's trying to satisfy their needs to see what's happening. So the last 200 was great. I want to know how you got in position over that first 600 to take advantage of it.
Oh, man. It was a congested start for sure. And all those guys can take it out, and they did. So I was fortunate that I found a hole. Praise God for that. And I was able to get out around 200. So,
any thought about last year in the runner-up at all, or new year, new opportunity?
You know, coming on that home straight, I really started thinking about that. I was like, please. Oh, it would have been a great, huge congratulations if anybody caught up and did it as well. I'm super grateful for it, though. So grateful, so grateful.
I'm going to, hopefully I don't leave anybody out, but you're thinking Donovan Brazier, and I'm thinking Devin Dixon, and I'm thinking Brandon Miller. And like, what's it mean to join that group with an NCAA championship?
Unreal. I got no words. I got no words.
800U, and before I get yelled at, don't forget a thing, Mo. Also great at the 800. Dwight, congratulations, Sam.
All right, John, actually last NCAA champion for the Aggies on the men's side when he was a freshman. World champion Donovan Brazier. He went pro right after that. So it's been a while since the Aggies have had a champion. They're always in the mix. But Sam Whitmarsh pulls it off and is the champion at 800 meters. When we come back, we'll put hurdles on the track. 400-meter hurdles there next. Well, there are lots of ways to celebrate here at the NCAA championships. You get to sign your name as a champion on that board that is right after the finish line, and Sam Whitmarsh is doing so right now. And then other times, you just want to give your mom a hug because she's your biggest supporter. And other times, it might be the one you love. And the one you're gonna love. Just a little recap on the decathlon from the first 2 days of competition.
Well, the decathlon, the first 2 days of competition took place under great weather. There you see Peyton Bear, the #2 decathlete in the country, and Till Steinfort, the #1 ranked decathlete in the country. And the 100 meters got off to a roaring start. Peyton Bear, the junior from Mississippi State, showed everybody that he was here to get down to business, and he would run 10:25 for collegiate decathlon record, the fastest 100 meters ever run by a collegiate. And here's Brad Thomas from UC Santa Barbara. Got a chance to feature him in a few different events. Here he is in the long jump. He had the best long jump of the day. This was his second attempt, 23 feet 6 inches. And Marcus Weaver, the senior from Arkansas, knowing that points were precious to the Arkansas Razorbacks in this meet, he would get things going and start moving up the leaderboard in the third event of day one, the shot put. But it was all Peyton Bear in the sprinting events to start the day and to end the day. Peyton Bear would run 46 flat in the 400 meters, one of the top times ever run by a collegiate in the 400. And he would take a lead into day two. But tragedy would strike for the Arkansas Razorbacks and Marcus Weaver on the 8th event of the decathlon, the pole vault. Marcus Weaver with no height and he would not finish this decathlon, but Peyton Bear would just keep things rolling. For Jab U, he would show you how you get it done in the combined events with a nice big throw there and continue a big lead, 189 feet, 10 inches. And then in the 1500 meters, he was running for a place in history. He had the win in hand, but he would run an outstanding 1500 meter and score 8,323 points, putting him 14th on the all-time list, and the UC Santa Barbara senior Brad Thomas would finish in second. And so under some really nice weather, the decathlon was contested, but the heptathlon, the ladies would get their 7-event journey started today at 11:45 this morning. It was 56 degrees. There's Pipilata Enoch. She won the championship back in 2023 in Austin, Texas. There's the SEC champ, Sophia Yakashina. She was the SEC champ in the top heptathlon score of the year. Jaden O'Brien, your 3-time NCAA pentathlon champ, would get their day started. But there you see Pipilata Enoch on the inside. She would have a nice run in the 100-meter hurdles, get things started with a personal best, 13:65 for 1,028 points. And Sophia Yakashina, she would go in the next heat. These heats would continually get a little bit quicker. Yakashina navigate 10 hurdles successfully and run an outstanding time, 13:53 for 1,046 points. You've got to run in the 13 seconds to get that 1,000 points. But one of the best hurdlers in the group is Jaden O'Brien, and she shows you why. And her teammate Elena Brady of Notre Dame on the outside challenging her. But Jaden O'Brien would go 13:33, fastest time in all the heats. Not a personal best, but an outstanding time for her, 1,075 points, and she would be your leader along with her teammate after the first event in the heptathlon.
All right, updating the men's standings. Arkansas and USC still tied, but now with 29 points each. Auburn stuck at 27. They have one more scoring opportunity in the 200 meters. They do not have a 4x400 meter relay team in the final. All right, next event on the track, the 400-meter hurdles. Rai Benjamin, the Olympic champion, has the collegiate record as well as the meet record. Set the same year as Michael Norman, winning the 400. Nathaniel Ezekiel of Baylor has the fastest time in the country. He set it on Wednesday, and there is the big man, the bear from Baylor, starting out in lane number 6, the senior from Nigeria, 3 times the Big 12 400-meter champion.
But this title has eluded him. He was a Paris Olympian last year, and you see he's just absolutely dominated at the Big 12 championships. We'll see if he can get a title this year, but he is going to have his work cut out for him. There's the SEC champ, the 23-year-old freshman out of Tennessee. He has been running really well, the Moroccan national record holder. He is going to give Nathaniel Ezekiel a target as he is in the outside lane, and there is Jaqueline Scott, JQ. We call him just so we don't have to mess with that name. 3-time SEC runner-up. Every time JQ, though, and Nathaniel Ezekiel are in the same race, JQ gives Nathaniel everything he can handle. But there you see the favorites. JQ of Texas A&M, Nathaniel Ezekiel in 6, and Hinty in 7. Cody Blackwood of Texas, they're in lane 8, and Johnny Bracken's an opportunity to score some points for the Trojans. Clear out there in lane 9.
The Aggies with 2 finalists here, with scoring opportunities, but a lot of pressure on Johnny Brackens. And they'll bring them up. A lot of noise around the start. Field events going on around them. Triple jump still in progress.
Well, and that was the Texas Tech senior, Oscar Edlin, with a lot of experience there. He heard the rhythmic clapping going on behind him. He decided to raise his hand, not comfortable. But the knock on Nathaniel Ezekiel, Dwight, is that he runs really well against pros in those races where professionals can also come into the invitationals. but he struggles a little bit against collegiate guys. But here he has an opportunity. He had a fantastic run on Wednesday, and he could have put on the brakes, just cruised to an easy victory, but he was in a really nice rhythm. And it's going to be important for him to get in a rhythm here today over the first 4 or 5 hurdles, establish that 13 stride. And you heard it from Samuel Ghazi. He said that wind is cold out there, and that is going to affect these 400-meter hurdlers.
They're asking him to stand up again. Ezekiel has the #3 time in the world this year. Still a little bit early in the professional circuit. Lots of national championships still left to come up, including the U.S. national championships, which will be the World Championship trials. Those World Championships in Tokyo later this summer.
Well, and in that semifinal race, Dwight, we saw JQ make some technical errors. He got off to a nice start, 13 stride, and then he went to 15, and then he went to 14. And Coach Henry told me that's really not the way you want to do it. You want to make that transition around 7 or 8 to 14, and if you need to go to 15 on the last 2, then you absolutely do then. But JQ, he's so talented. If he can get into his rhythm, if he can find that 13 and take it all the way to about the 250-meter mark, 120 meters to go, then he's going to be in good shape, be able to challenge for this title as well.
All right, they're at their marks for the 3rd time. It is cool here, but the flags tell us that there's not much in the way of wind. JQ in 5, Ezekiel in 6, and Hinty in 7. And Ezekiel with a bit of an advantage, having Hinty to his outside. He's now making up the stagger on the volunteer.
Well, Nathaniel Ezekiel is just locked into his 13 there, and he went really smoothly through the first 200 meters and was really able to push the pace. Going to be tough for somebody to catch him at this point.
JQ running a great race so far. With all the technical difficulties we've seen him have, he is challenging Ezekiel as they come up the finishing stretch. But there, Ezekiel just switched gears. But JQ, this is probably going to be a lifetime best for the Aggie. And out in lane 8, that was Cody Blackwood coming up for 3rd. 47.49, an improvement on his already massive collegiate leader. But JQ with a real challenge at the 9th hurdle. And that moves Ezekiel up to the #2 time in the world this year. JQ running 48.29. A huge improvement for him, and 8 points for the Aggies.
Well, what you're seeing right here, Nathaniel Ezekiel, the senior from Baylor, he wants to go out in style. This is somebody who just will not be denied. It's not the prettiest looking running, but who looks pretty at the end of a 400-meter hurdle race? But look at him separate from the field right there. Head bobbing back and forth. He was not going to let up. He was not going to relent, no matter how far ahead he was. But look at him just take these last couple of hurdles. He's alternating. He's on his good leg, he's on his weak leg, but he comes off that last hurdle and just gives it everything he absolutely has for a fantastic time. And look at that celebration.
So Nathaniel Ezekiel, the senior from Baylor, with the #2 time in the world, a new collegiate lead. The last time a Baylor athlete has won this title, Bayano Kamani back in 2001. JQ with a big personal best and 2nd place for the Aggies. And for USC, Johnny Brackens ended up 7th place. That's 2 points for the Trojans. A&M scoring a total of 10 in that 400 hurdle race. Jordan Anthony in the 200 meters next when we return to Eugene.
The second event on the heptathlon schedule is the high jump, and here is the freshman from Texas A&M, Sophia Yakashina. It's her 3rd attempt at 5 feet 7 3/4 inches, and she will not get over that. She managed to clear 5.6½, well below her best here in the high jump. This is Pippi Lotta-Enoch, the junior from Oklahoma, 2023 heptathlon champ. And on a 2nd attempt, she would go over 5.11. And look at the excitement and elation there she has for scoring 991 points. This is Destiny Masters, a senior from Wichita State. Her first attempt at 6 feet, half an inch, and she would get a friendly bounce by the bar, and she would score big in the high jump, 1,029 points. She was 21st after the hurdles, and here in the second event, she moves up all the way into second position following that high jump make. There you see Destiny Masters moved into second. Jaden O'Brien still hanging around the leaderboard in fifth.
All right, let's update these men's standings after that 400-meter hurdle race. Texas A&M now vaulting into the lead by 2 over USC, who also scored points in that 400 hurdles. Arkansas also on the move. All 3 teams have athletes in the 200 meters as well as 4x400 meter relay teams. Auburn only has 1 more scoring opportunity, and that's in this event. 1 athlete as we get ready for the men's 200. Walter Dix of Florida State, still the collegiate record holder. Meet record by Divine Oduduru when he was at Texas Tech. And there you see Maka Charamba. There is the lone Auburn scoring opportunity, the last one. They do not have a 4x400 relay team in the final.
Well, he went 1994 in the semis, and he looked like he was in such control there. He had Jordan Anthony on his inside and looked like he wanted to send a message because Jordan Anthony beat him at the SEC Outdoor Championships. Jordan Anthony now will be on his outside, 2 lanes to the outside. There's Jordan Anthony coming off a 100-meter win. He looked a little flat in the semifinals. He looked a little flat in the semifinals in the 100. He looked a little flat in the semifinals in the 200. And his quote was that he just got through. He just wanted to qualify, get through, not do anything special. We'll see if he's got something special here in the 200 meters. And we're talking about scoring. Garrett Kalin now is in a great opportunity to put up some points for the USC Trojans. Max Thomas also down in lane 3. Talk about rebounding. These Trojans have really rebounded after a subpar performance in the qualifying on Wednesday, but we talked about scoring opportunities. Here is that scoring opportunity. Could they eke out some points here, get a little bit of a lead going into that 4x400 meters, just 2 events from now?
So Jordan Anthony out there in lane 8 will have a more subtle curve to run, but he can also be a rabbit for the speedsters that are on his inside, including Maka Charamba, who comes out of lane 6.
Well, and Arkansas in the team title mix as well. They need Jordan Anthony's points, and they would love nothing more than for this meet to come down to the 4x4.
And they're off. Charamba standing straight up out of the blocks. T-Mars McCollum trying to make up the stagger on it, but it takes him a while to get going. But here comes Maka. You can't miss him. He's bigger than anybody else there. Carly Makarawu on the outside in lane 9. Here comes Jordan Anthony with a late rush, but it's going to be Makarawu. It's a Zimbabwean sweep with Makarawu of Kentucky winning it, and Maka Charamba getting second, 1984. That is a new collegiate lead for the Kentucky junior and the number 2 time in the world this year. 10 points for Kentucky, 8 points for Auburn, and Garrett Kalin of USC ends up 3rd. That's 6 points for the Trojans, along with Max Thomas's 2 points as well.
Well, you just don't see people win the 200 meters out of lane 9 very often. We didn't get a chance to see Carly Makarawu even run until the SEC championships, and he looked like he had a couple of rust-busting runs at that championship, but here he looks fresh in the far outside. We certainly know that he has the potential to run fast, but that is a little surprising out there, and he leads a good friend of his, Maka Charamba, to the line and takes the victory. But you called it, Dwight, a Zimbabwean sweep there. Number 1, head 2. Jordan Anthony not far behind.
All right, Makarawu wins it, a new collegiate lead, and he's downstairs with John.
All right, Carly, we have been waiting to see it because there's been some prelims and not the final, and we've been nursing injury. What's it mean to get here and finally run this fast?
I just want to thank God It wasn't easy to come back from an injury. It wasn't easy to compete with these guys. Compete with everyone is fast here, but I just want to thank God for everything and for leading me out here.
How difficult has it been to sit and watch as Trump puts up good times and Jordan Anthony puts up good times and you're just sitting there?
It was really hard. No, I'm not going to lie. Those guys were running fast and it was scary. I just want to thank God for today.
He's healthy and he's the fastest in the 200 here, Dwight. Congratulations, Carly.
All right, John. Well, I wasn't going to miss the guy in lane 9 this time. That's for darn sure. Kali Makarabu wins it with a collegiate lead. And Maka Charama scoring points for Auburn.
Well, let's head over to the Heptathlon shot put, third event in the schedule. 2023 champion Pipilata Enoch having a heck of a first day. This is her second attempt in the shot put. She bounces one out 41 feet, a quarter of an inch. You see the fist pump, she likes it. And here's a hometown duck, Annika Williams, third attempt coming up here, the transfer from Kentucky. That ball would slide down into her thumb just a little bit, but she still managed to get something on it. She's an outstanding shot putter. She go 46-4, and that would be her best throw of the day for 802 points. But this is a senior from Notre Dame who is having a fantastic season. She's the best shot putter in the group, and she would blast one out there on her third attempt. And she would go out to 47.5 for 823 points and take the overall lead here in the shot put. Elena Brady, also from Notre Dame, had a personal best in the shot put. But there you see the top 5, not many points separating them.
So moments ago, we had the first of 3 sections of the heptathlon 200 meters. Pipilata Enoch, you can see third from the left, winning that heat. She ran a personal best of 24.09 in less than ideal conditions for sprinting. That's unofficial. And now we get set for section number 2. It's featuring some of the leaders through the first 3 events, including Jaden O'Brien, the senior from Notre Dame, who we just saw performing well in the shot put. She will start out of lane number 3.
Well, Jaden O'Brien is a good 200-meter runner. Coming off the shot put, she has a really good first day. Always constantly working on that high jump, but she's got great speed. She uses that speed well in the hurdles and the 200 meters. And she'll be on the inside. I probably would prefer to be inside to see a lot of these athletes to the outside in this 200 meters. There you see the freshman from Texas A&M, Sofia Yakashina. She's an outstanding 200-meter runner. From Krasnodar, Russia, she's run 23:48 earlier this season. She came in the collegiate leader. A couple of big personal bests for her already this season in the heptathlon. But this is the faster heat, 3 heats for these heptathletes. This is the faster heat. Maddie Pitts of Penn State's gone 23.7. Izzy Gudros of Harvard in the middle of the track, lane 6, 23:40, fastest on paper in this heat.
The flags right by the 200-meter start are straight down.
But it's chilly.
Of course, these athletes running against a table of points more than they are each other. Who wins the heat is oftentimes inconsequential. It's the times that relate to the points. O'Brien in good position coming off the turn. That is Gudros of Harvard coming off first. She has the best time on paper coming in. So it is Gudros finishing first, followed by Maddie Pitts of Penn State. 23:61, so not far off her personal best, but a solid performance at Jaden O'Brien, who came into this event only with a 6-point lead over Destiny Masters, who we will see later. So that is 2 sections in the books. We will come back for section 3 when we step aside for a moment. We come back to Eugene, the final heat of the final event of the first day of the heptathlon. Let's take a look at the Capital One Cup standings as teams compete for a combined $500,000 in student athlete scholarships from Capital One. This is for sports, all 90 sports in the NCAA. You can see Ohio State with a healthy lead on the men's side, and it's close on the women's side as we get ready for now Section 3 of the Heptathlon 200, final event of the combined event today. This is Destiny Masters, and with that 6-foot half-inch high jump clearance, she put herself in second place overall after 3 events, just 6 points out of the lead. She'll start out of lane 2. Her personal best, 25.09.
Well, it just goes to show you how important that high jump is in the heptathlon. You want to score big, you've got to have a good high jump. Elena Brady of Notre Dame, she's in lane 5. She's currently in 5th place. And the Oregon Duck, Annika Williams, in lane 7. She's currently in 4th place.
And they're away. Again, almost no wind that we can see. And Elena Brady moving well in the middle of the track. And on the outside, Caitlin Edel from Alabama. And that is Ella Spalding of Fresno State's going to be close with Caitlin Edel in that heat. 0.2 meters per second wind, so virtually nothing. 24.65 for Spalding. And that's just off her personal best. Caitlin Edel at also 24.65. They just separated by thousandths of a second. That was a big PR for her.
Well, good start in the middle of the track there for Elena Brady, who's having one heck of a day. Well, she and Jaden O'Brien just graduated for the 2nd time in 2 years. They collected their master's degrees this last couple of weeks. There she is in the middle of the track in green, but Ella Spalding, the sophomore from Fresno State, flies by her, as well as the freshman on the outside, and they go almost dead heat here to finish the competition here on day 1.
They'll receive the same amount of points for that time, regardless of who finished 1st or 2nd, not important. So that will wrap up the first day of the heptathlon. 4 events in the book. And Jaden O'Brien continues to lead by 25 points over Pipilota Enoch of Oklahoma. Maddie Pitts has moved into 3rd place. When we return, it's a 5,000 meters, crucial event for New Mexico, especially after what happened in the steeplechase earlier. Back in Eugene, let's give you the revised scores after 4 events in the heptathlon. It is Jaden O'Brien over Pipilota Enoch by 25 points, but it's Destiny Masters who is now in 3rd place, well over 100 points off of 2nd place. So those are your top 3 after day 1. They will come back and contest 3 events tomorrow. The next event on the track, the 24 finalists in the 5,000 meters. Athletes qualified here from regionals in Jacksonville and College Station, 12 from each. That's how we got to 24. There's the collegiate record set this year. There is Habtum Samuel. He was 2nd in the 10,000 meters on Wednesday.
And New Mexico needs a 1-2 finish to crack the top 4 on the team standings from Ishmael Kipkarui and Habtum Samuel, just like they did in the 10,000 2 nights ago. It was Ishmael Kipkarui who won that 10,000 meter title, and it went out really conservatively early on. They were able to lay back in the pack with the number of athletes who are fresh in this field. I think that this will be a much more honest effort. Dwight, looking at the field that you have 5 athletes who have won NCAA track championships. You also have 7 athletes who have run sub 13:20 at this distance.
And with Matthew Koske not winning in the steeplechase, it took the Lobos out of the team title race. But still, with 3 athletes, a top 4 finish as a team would be very impressive.
And coming off that runner-up finish in the 1500, you do have Ethan Strand of University of North Carolina, who is up there in the mix, currently leading Drew Bosley of NAU.
So 65-second first 400 meters, pretty honest, but it's a large field. And there's still a reasonable amount of congestion. You can see Ethan Strand there about 8th or 9th in the middle there with the powder blue of North Carolina. There's Drew Bosley of Northern Arizona.
Also Rocky Hansen, he won the NCAA East Regional. He's coming into this one fresh. He had a top 3 finish indoors in the 5,000 at the national championships.
Upton Samuel currently in 5th position. He was the defending champion in 10,000 meters, but was beaten by his teammate, the freshman, Ishmael Kipkurui.
And they're working together in this one. They had very independent race strategies in the 10,000, Dwight. Looks like they're much more so trying to work together. Taking a look right now at Matt Strangio from Portland, who won the NCAA West Regional. He has dedicated his outdoor season to his father, who passed away in March while Matt was competing at the NCAA Indoor Championships. His father was a huge influence on his running career. His dad was a track athlete at Cal Poly. He ran an incredible 13:24 at the Stanford Invitational. Matt did to open up his outdoor season. Wasn't even sure if he was going to race there. That was his first competition after the NCAA Indoor Championships. It was the same weekend as a celebration of life for his dad, so felt just an outpouring of support from all of his Portland teammates who showed up to support him over the course of that weekend at the race and then also at the service and celebration. Currently at 2:49 through 1,000 meters.
All right, well, we've got a pack sort of forming. They've slowed down a little bit, but a lot of time left to go. Let's step aside for a moment. Take a look at the high jump, which was a less than impressive group. Just not a good day for high jumpers. This is our vested troop of the junior from Mississippi. His second attempt at 7.3 3/4, and with that, he wins the competition outright. Nobody else was able to match that height. This was Tyus Wilson, the senior from Nebraska, probably the favorite coming in. Won the Big 12 10 outdoor, won the NCAA indoor. That was his 3rd attempt at 7.3 3/4, unable to clear it. He ended up 6th. Conditions aren't great, but they aren't terrible. It's not windy. It is cold, no question, but it's not windy. Here's Kason O'Reilly. We saw him earlier, the Texas Tech Bobcat. They had no misses through 7.2.5, he and his teammate, but unable to navigate 7.3 3/4. He ended up 2nd. So Troop, by himself, decides to move the bar up to 7.5 1/4, if for no other reason than to just completely embarrass the field, which he did. So he wins it at 7.5 1/4. I believe that's the same height he won the conference at a month ago. And 2nd and 3rd place were 7.2 1/2. That's a blowout. Every event is cyclical, and this is not one of the better years for the high jump. It will certainly come back in the future. Troop wins it at 7.5 1/4. O'Reilly and Hayes score a lot of points for the Texas State Bobcats. Back to the 5,000, and things have sped up significantly. As you can see, the pack's starting to thin out a little bit more.
4:31 through 1,600, Dwight. It's been a little bit erratic. They went 68.5, 72.5, 65.5, so a little bit of back and forth with Rocky Hansen up there. He's one who really likes to shake things up in championship races, certainly not afraid to make a bold move. Also easy to identify, that bright orange, getting a look at it there, that is Brian Massow from OK State, who was the NCAA Indoor 5K champion. He has a great closing kick. Ishmael Kipkurui in great position at this point. There's a great look at Brian Massow from Oklahoma State. And Coach Dave Smith said that a couple months ago when he won indoors, he was so excited. He hoped that he would win a national championship, but didn't necessarily believe that he would. So he took a long break after the indoor season, had just one race before the NCAA regional, didn't even run their conference meet. Now is really coming around to full fitness. He is fresh coming into this, as is Rocky Hansen. So the guys who are fresh are trying to take advantage of this opportunity with the other athletes in this field who have so many laps in their legs, like those guys doubling back from the 10,000.
It looks like Kip Karui and Samuel are no longer working together, as they're well separated in this pack. Kip Karui up as Samuel makes a move just as I say that. There is your 10,000 runner-up making his move on the outside to get more into the mix. And he does join. No, he does not join his teammate.
Yep. They are currently 3 and 4
yes.
right there. And one thing that, as they go through in 64.3, Hoptum Samuel has been a lot more conservative in some of these races because he's just had so many incidences. He has really that vertical bouncy stride that's contributed to him in a number of situations. Dwight, we've seen it when he's gotten tripped in races, going back to the 10,000 meters. Last year in cross country when he got spiked and lost a shoe halfway through the race. So he's really trying to do a much better job of in-race awareness and trying to stay out of any trouble, doing a fantastic job of it right now with his teammate there in tow.
So Rocky Hansen, the sophomore from Wake Forest, continuing to lead from the front. He's had couple of laps and right around 64 seconds, so pretty honest. There are the two New Mexico Lobos. On the right of your screen, there's the 10,000 meter champion and the runner-up and the defending champion on his left. Here is a little bit of look back for the 10,000 from Wednesday night.
And you can see when Ishmael Kip Karui just made that move, he blew past the rest of the field. There was no one who could hang with him. Samuel tried to close on him, but he does run with so much power, especially for a 10,000 meter, 5,000 meter runner. So the freshman taking the title away from the defending champion. That was that 18-point performance on night one. They're now going to try to replicate this, but Brian Massow looks incredibly comfortable right now. And when they've gone head-to-head, Brian Massow has tended to have the advantage over Hoptum Samuel. And this is much like Brian Massow ran the NCAA Indoor Championship in the 5,000 that he won just a few months ago. Rocky Hansen has been up front for a number of laps there. You have a great look at Brian Massow. Has his teammate Fuad Massaudi in this field as well, as they've been on a very steady last 3 laps, right around 64 seconds.
Ishmael Kip Karui, now the collegiate record holder in the 10,000 meters, run earlier this year. Hoptum Samuel now up into second place.
Talking with New Mexico head coach Darren Gosson, he said that Hoptum has great memories and great experience running here in Eugene at Hayward Field, not just from the NCAA championships last year, but he also ran here for the World Championships back in 2022. So a lot of that familiarity has really benefited him, and that is something that he has imparted onto his teammate Ishmael Kip Karui. Kip Karui did not arrive on campus until December, was a little bit banged up coming in. So he has very much come into strong form over the course of the outdoor season, as they have 3 laps to go, and you can tell everyone's starting to get a little bit anxious, Dwight.
So we will not see any records set in this race, but we might have a great finish. Lots of athletes still very much in the mix. Some of them are doubling back from Wednesday. Some of them are fresh.
And that's kind of been the trend of this championship, is it? It's been a lot of close finishes in the middle distance and distance races. And I mean, there are 10 athletes who are in this with 2.5 laps to go.
That's Marco Langen of Villanova there in the white top and dark blue shorts just behind Brian Massow. Speaking of Massow, here comes his teammate.
That is Fouad Massoudi. Massoudi, one of those national champions that we referenced. He won 2 years ago indoors over 3,000 meters. Both of them have great finishing kicks. Matt Strangio has gone to the front.
2 laps remaining. It's a 63.1 lap after a 62.5 lap, so they're definitely winding it up.
Ishmael Kipkurui is going to have to find a way to navigate out of traffic and get alongside his teammate at this point. Here comes Brian Massow. In talking to coaches with athletes in this field, a lot of them, the advice they were giving was, if you throw a punch, it better be a knockout, because you're not going to have time to do anything else with the caliber of competition, the talent, the speed, especially the closers that you have in this race.
Matt Strangio continuing to lead. Hopton Samuel is there, Brian Massow. Ishmael Kipkurui is just a little off the pace. Back in 8th, but not really staying connected. Here comes the belt as Massow goes into the lead. Massow, Samuel, Langen, Strangio, Hansen.
Keep your eyes on Marco Langen, who is moving well. The Villanova junior
they won't catch him.
Fighting his way into the thick of it.
Now there's a lot of bumping as athletes try to find a room to run. Samuel in a little bit of a box there. It's Massow, Langen, Samuel, and Valentin Soka of California Baptist. Langen going wide. And Massow head to head. Massow has the other gear. Langen doesn't have it. Samuel leaving it too late. Can he reel him in? There isn't enough real estate. Brian Massow wins the 5. Samuel 2nd. Langen 3rd.
Brian Massow sweeps the indoor and outdoor 5,000 meter titles for OK State. 55.8, that final 400. Indoors, he hoped he'd win a national title. Proved he could win a national title. You saw with the way he finished that race, he believed that he could win the title over the rest of this field.
4:01 for his last 1,600 meters, which is just 9 meters short of a mile. That is international championship level type of running. The last 200 meters.
He gets a challenge from Marco Langen of Villanova, and you can see Massow is gritting it out right now. It looks like Langen has a little bit more right here, but how quickly, zero hesitation from Massow. That experience that he has coming into play. Hopton Samuel giving everything he can to fight to the finish, but it is not enough. You can see Langen takes a tumble over the line. Brian Massow would not be denied as he dominates the NCAA 5,000 meter titles indoors and out.
First time Oklahoma State has won this title outdoors. Massow runs at 13:20.59. Samuel ends up 2nd for New Mexico. Kipkurui all the way down to 7th. So 9 points for the Lobos instead of the 20 that they were looking for. But there is the champion. He did it indoors, comes back a few months later, does it outdoors. And we will talk to the champion when we return to Eugene. Well, moments ago, the 5,000 meter title was determined. Brian Massow of Oklahoma State repeats his victory from indoors, becomes the first Cowboy to win the title outdoors, and he is downstairs with John.
Thank you, Dwight. If winning 1 is good, winning 2 is better. Congratulations, Brian Massow. It looked like that was an easy trip in terms of tactics. Tell me how that race went for you.
The race, it was very hard. Let me don't lie. It was very hard. Even if you're not like run a good time, it was very tactical. So for me, it was very hard, but I always believe in myself, believe in my workout, and then I always put God in everything I do. So this far, I always say, it's God who brought me here. It's not my workout, my hard work. It's just God.
Why did you choose to go when you did there as we hit the bell?
Yeah, you know, like the thing since I came here, I was just studying the meet, and then I saw we have a couple guys who will be coming from 10K, others from 15. So when I count them and then I count the people that were fresh, I knew where I'm supposed to place myself to win this. Yeah.
Congratulations on a race well run, a champ for Oklahoma State. That is America's brightest orange. Dwight?
All right, John. A great victory by Brian Masao in the 5,000 meters. We have one last field event to tie up, the men's triple jump and Dan.
Well, here is Brandon Green Jr., the junior from Oklahoma. He was your leader from the very first jump of this competition. He had it wrapped up after the 5th round, but on the 6th and final jump of the competition, he would send one way out there, deep, they call it, in triple jumping. And he would go 55 feet 2 inches to extend his lead and leave no doubt who the victor was here in the men's triple jump. Brandon Green Jr. with the victory. Floyd Whitaker, the senior from Oklahoma, was second, and Kevon Tatham of Florida State would finish in third.
1-2 for the Sooners, having just joined the conference this year, SEC conference. So here is the state of play with one event remaining. The Trojans are ahead of Auburn by 5. Auburn cannot win because they do not have a 4x400 relay in the final. Arkansas is in it at 34. Texas A&M is in it at 33, because anything can happen in the relay. You can pass out of the zone, you can run on the line, you can drop the baton. Tons of things can happen. Florida has the collegiate record from 2 years ago, as well as the meet record. South Florida with the collegiate leader, but that's likely to go in this meet. Here is USC. They will be starting in lane 7. There is their personnel. Jacob Andrews will lead off. Garrett Kaland, who scored big points in the 200 for the Trojans, will anchor.
Well, and one of the things that the sprint coaches at USC told me is that there are just a couple guys on this team who came in here specifically just to run the relays. They're not in individual events, but Jake Andrews has been starting this relay off for USC all season long. There's TJ Tomljanovich of Arkansas. We know what this Arkansas squad can do. Stephen McElroy will go second, try to break this thing open for the Hogs. Jaden Smith will bring it home for the Razorbacks. And Texas A&M, look at this squad. Cutler Zamzow there in the second position for Quarson, and they're going to give it to Ahmad Robinson, who does probably his best running in the relay, but they're going to be in lane 5. This thing is going to get gritty.
Well, let's flash back to Virginia Beach, the indoor NCAAs back in March. And the Trojans were in that race, but look at this, a big crash, batons flying, athletes sent out at the wrong time. Just about everything that could possibly happen did happen. And USC ended up winning their section. There's Coach Chris Bucknam from Arkansas trying for a rerun, thinking about a rerun, went ahead and just let it go. USC wins their first title in a ton of years. There are the lane assignments with A&M in 5, Arkansas in 6, USC in 7. USC finishes 4th or better. They win the team title, which means they repeat, or actually win the indoor, win the outdoor, but they haven't won the outdoor in 49 years.
Well, it's interesting. USC has run 3:02 without Garrett Kaland, and he is in the lineup today. It looks like he's going to run anchor for the Trojans, so you got to think that they're able to run a little bit quicker than that. Well, maybe we don't see Garrett Kaland yet, but I see Max Thomas is not in their lineup, but I see him down there in the number 2 spot.
from the inside. BYU, Florida, South Florida, then Penn State, Texas A&M, Arkansas, then on the outside lane, Southern Cal, Iowa, and Alabama. Here's the disclaimer. We're given a list of runners that are supposed to be running in certain order. Sometimes it doesn't exactly work that way. We'll do our best to correctly identify the athletes that are carrying the baton for their schools, but it doesn't always turn out the way we're told. For example, USC has already had a substitution of Max Thomas for William Jones on the second leg. USC in good shape here. By the way, Arkansas has never won this event on the men's side.
Well, Chewanga going really well there in lane 9. And look who they're going to hand to, Lara.
Alabama hands off first.
Oh, he ran on the anchor leg, I believe, in qualifying just 2 days ago.
The teams in contention got to be really aware of the lines on that track. Now they're past all of those problems now that they're off the turn. Zamzow for A&M.
Well, USC now in dead last, and this is Max Thomas trying to make up some ground. They have got some work to do. Keep an eye on South Florida as well.
That's Iowa in second. They had a better baton pass, so they take over the lead. That's unusual. A&M usually very good on the exchange. 45-2 for Zamzow and A&M, but it is Iowa in the lead. Now A&M making a move. That is Kamar Farquharson for the Aggies, and for Iowa, Josh Pugh. For South Florida, that is Corey Otte.
And I believe that's Jalen Knox for the USC Trojans there, sitting in 7th position now.
Jonah Feehill on third leg for Arkansas. A&M and South Florida going to exchange together. Who has the better exchange? A&M by a lot. Ahmad Robinson, but now Florida into the mix. Justin Braun for the Gators, but Ahmad Robinson, we know what kind of relay duty he could do. He ran 43:20 on his leg last year when they set the collegiate record. SC is way back. They needed to be 4th or better to win the title. But the race is Florida and A&M. And look at Ahmad Robinson. He didn't get it done in the Open 400, but this is his last race as an Aggie. He's going to do everything he can, but here comes South Florida. South Florida, they are the collegiate leader, and they win the title. A&M second. USC way back. Okay, that's dangerous.
Well, that was Gabriel Moranta. We saw him in the Open 400 meters just get tackled by his teammate. But South Florida 3 flat, Texas A&M 3 flat as well.
We're still waiting for the results to come in, and we're up to 6th place, and there's no USC. So we are going to need to sort this out when we get the points. South Florida scores with 10, but they were not in contention. A&M got second. That's 8 points for the Aggies. And Arkansas got third. That's 6 points for the Hogs. USC finished 8th. That's 1 point. Our crack staff is doing some quick math. That is surprising that USC ended up running 3:03.18 with that personnel.
Well, I expected to see Garrett Catlin for USC on that anchor leg. And after that 200 meters, something must have happened. They did not have a chance to put him on that relay, but you knew the Texas A&M Aggies wanted to come down to the 4x4 and the Arkansas Razorbacks. This is certainly what they do best. Now take a look at the scores, Dwight. 41 for Texas A&M, 41 for USC. Co-national champions.
And 41 points is about the least you can score and win the title. Third place went to the Hogs at 40. Well, I said anything can happen in that 4x400. It's been a few years since we've had two teams share the title. I think it was Florida and Texas A&M about 10 years ago or so. Quincy Watts still happy. There's Pat Henry. Pat Henry, the coach at Texas A&M. Quincy Watts, the 1992 Olympic 400-meter champion, the head coach of the Trojans.
And what's interesting, we're going to show in 2025, USC will have won the NCAA indoor title, and they will have won the NCAA outdoor title as well.
It was indeed 12 years ago when Texas A&M and Florida tied with 53 points. 2013, 12 years ago. There it is. It's official. USC and Texas A&M sharing the title on the men's side. Arkansas 1 point back. And just think about if their 4x400 teams could have performed better. Arkansas was third. Not a terrible performance, but an unusually poor performance for USC, finishing 8th in that 4x400. But it was a tight team battle, just like we knew it would be. There's Lance Harder, former women's coach at Arkansas, talking with Coach Pat Henry. That is coaching royalty. And Quincy Watts has done what it's been taking a long time for USC's men to do. Delivered national championship titles, indoors and outdoors.
And people around Quincy Watts will tell you that he's been a little stressed lately trying to bring home a national title. And now he's finally done it. Big staff, though, big team. USC brought a really big team, big staff, and all the support they needed. But let's go back to the race. Look at the close. You got to see the close by Gabriel Maranta of South Florida. Here's Ahmad Robinson doing what Ahmad Robinson usually does. That's William Jones on the anchor for USC, but Maranta determined to spoil the day here. His teammate almost took him off his feet, but Ahmad Robinson getting the Aggies all the way up into the front. And they go clear out into lane 3 and then some. And that's Sam Ogazi for Alabama, bringing it home strong. It's just a way to get hurt. We got a U.S. National Championships coming up in about 3 weeks' time.
Well, think of this. If South Florida hadn't run such a great race, and they absolutely did, and A&M wins that race, they win the title. Pat Henry, he got it done at LSU all the years that he was there, and then he's been at Texas A&M for decades and just replicated the amazing performances, men's and women's team titles, many of them in the early part of the century. But there are the final results of that 4x400. 31/100ths of a second, South Florida over Texas A&M. Arkansas was back there in 3rd, Iowa 4th, and USC hanging on by a thread, scoring that 1 point. Had they scored just 1 place higher, they would have been national champions all by themselves. But two good teams, deserving coaches sharing the title here in 2025, both scoring 41 points. And like indoors, USC did not have one event where they had an event winner.
Well, you look at those times, outstanding times, 3 flat for the 2 up front, but then BYU, 7th place, 3:02. And you gave me some stats earlier, Larry.
Yeah, first appearance in an NCAA 4x4 final since 2015 for BYU. So a phenomenal run for the Cougars. Dwight, you mentioned USC didn't win an individual title. You're looking at A&M. How about that title of Sam Whitmarsh and how significant that was, not just for him and his first NCAA title, but for the team implications that came from that with what he was able to do.
JQ's big personal best in the 400-meter hurdles.
You're reading my mind.
Yeah.
The next thing I was going to say is JQ finally put a race together and really challenged Nathaniel Ezekiel until that 10th hurdle. Those 8 points for second place probably not looked for.
And when I was talking to Pat Henry just earlier today, he was talking about, man, you know, the disappointment of losing one to disqualification in the 110 hurdles, but then they got a bonus athlete through. They got 2 through in the 400 hurdles. So there was a lot of give and take. As you see Paul Ehring there celebrating with Coach Pat Henry as well. USC coming in to congratulate the Aggies on the shared championship title.
Well, and look at those two hugging right there. Milton Millard, who was that middle distance coach there at Texas A&M for so many years, now at USC.
So we're hearing that there might be some review of that race. Arkansas is asking perhaps for the race to be looked at. Again, for the first 2 legs, at least the first leg and a quarter, you got to be worried about running on the line, exchanges, interference. I didn't see any obvious interference, but certainly there could have been some a foot on the line or 2. They're going to try and sort that out, so they're waiting to make it official and hand out trophies until they adjudicate what might be an infraction of some kind that could change the outcome here.
Well, what a season it's been for Pat Henry. SEC indoor title had just well deserved there, and then they get beat up a little bit at the outdoor championships. But anything can happen. And I got a chance to spend time with Pat Henry earlier today. But yeah, anything can absolutely happen.
All right, so here's a freeze, and this is the last turn of the last leg. Arkansas is in 4th place at this point, and that is Jaden Smith for... Okay, so here's some potential interference right there by South Florida's anchor runner, which is Gabriel Maranta.
I believe this is actually the third leg.
Yeah.
This is the 3rd leg. That's for
you're right, because it's not Ahmad Robinson.
Yep.
So this is 3rd leg. So that would be for South Florida, Corey Otte, and for Arkansas, Jonah Vigil being interfered with. And of course, the contention would be perhaps that Arkansas would have been further up and South Florida would have been perhaps further back at that exchange. I think that that's a tough one to...
Did that look like interference to you?
To a certain degree, but if it were on the final leg, I would be more inclined to perhaps say, ooh, that was interference that could have really changed the outcome. I'm not certain that that really rises to that level.
Well, there you see right in the middle there, the tall figure Solovev, an important 10 points for the Aggies in the pole vault. And there's Sam Whitmarsh.
There's Whitmarsh, the champion at 800 meters, an important 10 points scored for the Aggies.
Look at the Aggies going with the classic colors. And whenever Pat Henry is around, you know what? His wife is not far behind.
There you go.
There you go.
Right on cue. Right on cue.
Nicely done.
I was talking to him about their relationship earlier. 52 years of marriage, and she has made it to almost every meet, at least the last few decades. Said early in his career, she didn't get to go a lot because she was back. She was at home. She was raising their family and taking care of everything so that he could pursue his dreams and take teams to national championships. What an incredible moment for the Henry family. Pat's son, also part of his staff there at Texas A&M.
Herman Frazier from Syracuse comes over to congratulate Pat Henry.
Well, you know, Pat has really built that program back up, and the facilities that they have in College Station are amazing. They had an amazing, maybe the fastest track in the world. They had to give it back up to the football team, so they just went out and bought a standalone, or built a standalone facility right next to their outdoor facility that hosted the SEC Indoor Championships this year, and they came away from the title there at home and a share of the title here at the national level. All right, well, we've talked enough. Let's go down to John for an update.
All right, Dwight, yeah, I was over at the protest table and getting information there. And the video that you guys showed in the booth is exactly correct. That is what they are disputing, is that there was interference by South Florida off that final turn in lap 3. Arkansas has made the protest. If it is upheld, it would remove South Florida. It would move everybody up. It would make A&M the outright winner. It would drop USC to 3rd and move Arkansas to 2nd as they moved them up. So what's at stake here is basically USC's share of this national title at the moment. They've gone to the video referee. We will get you that information as soon as we can. It could be A&M alone. It could be shared with the Trojans. Dwight?
All right. So USC would move from 8th to 7th. That's a 1-point addition. But A&M would move from 2nd to 1st. That's a 2-point addition. So A&M would then win by 1 point. And these things oftentimes take time. There's William Jones, who I believe was replaced on the relay, at least according to my sheet. He was originally supposed to run the second leg. He was replaced by Max Thomas.
I'll get you that, don't worry.
You got to wonder how much longer is Pat going to coach there at Texas A&M. He's had an amazing career between his days in LSU and his time at Texas A&M.
Well, as long as you're winning national titles, you're in no hurry to move on, right, Dwight?
Yeah, no kidding. Okay, let's take another look at it. So that is for Arkansas, Jonah Vigil swinging wide, and then Corey Audi of Florida basically just cuts him off and actually makes contact with him, breaking his stride. And A&M and South Florida basically passed evenly, but A&M had a better pass and had the front position on that final leg. So between LSU and Texas A&M, Pat Henry with this title, whether it be shared or by himself, 36 titles between the two schools where he coached. There's Coach Chris Bucknam. He was involved in a protest situation indoors over the 4x400. And now involved once again. And you've got to stand up for your kids. I mean, maybe he saw it live. Maybe his runner said, hey, you know, the guy cut me off and really broke my stride and we were moving. But you got to advocate for your team. And that's a legitimate complaint. That wasn't ticky-tack.
No, absolutely. And I remember my time when I was coaching at Arizona State University, and you know, one of our coaches put in a protest. A runner ran on the line, and Coach Kraft isn't normally the kind of guy that puts in a protest like that, but it got the ASU Sun Devils into a final at the NCAA championships because that team was disqualified for stepping on the line. And a lot of people were kind of angered by that, but you got to do it for your kids. You've got to advocate for your kids and give them an opportunity. And how many of those, you know, a couple of those guys were seniors getting to run in a final, their final year. There's Jake Andrews from USC, did a really good job of getting the Trojans out. He's run 45-46 this season, so definitely the pedigree to be on that relay.
Yeah, but he was hurt in that last 25 or 30 meters, and that is where they got way behind as they handed off to Max Thomas, but they were at a huge deficit that they really never made up.
Well, it looked like it was only about the last 20 meters. It looked like he ran, 360 meters, 370 meters, and then really died off. We thought we might see Johnny Brackens on this relay. But what's going to be interesting is see what happened to Garrett Kaland and why he wasn't running on this squad, because they were going to put him last. He came in listed. Jake Andrews, William Jones, Jalen Knox, and then Garrett Kaland, but we saw Max Thomas move to that second position. There's William Jones.
Our stat man, Tom Lewis, just let me know that if USC is moved up because of a disqualification by South Florida, then Arkansas moves up, and USC and Arkansas would tie for second place with A&M just 1 point ahead and national champion by themselves. Let's take a look at how this. There's Coach Leroy Burrell, Auburn, taking another shot at it that just didn't have the bodies in the final to make it all the way. Didn't have a relay team in the race. So here are the final results as they stand before any protest has been adjudicated. USC and Texas A&M tied at 41 for the title. Arkansas just 1 point back, and then Auburn in fourth, 5 points off of third place.
Meanwhile, New Mexico manages the top 5 finish with just those 3 athletes that they brought to Eugene. They're 3 distance runners.
Oklahoma, 18 of their points scored in the triple jump.
We man up. Hey, Pat, go. Hey,
So what we're hearing is co-champions, which means no change in the results of the 4x400 relay as a result of the protest that was put in by Coach Chris Bucknam of the Arkansas Razorbacks.
And there you see Chris Bucknam just a moment ago with Mario Satania, who used to be on that staff at Arkansas. Now I think Quincy Watts has just gotten the news as he looks to be relaxing a little bit.
Jeff Malinsky from the NCAA there delivering some confirmation, it appears, over to Coach Watts.
Let's do it again. Let's do it again.
All right, they're just finding out it's official. And again, I have to emphasize, USC men, both indoors and outdoors at the NCAA championships, not one single event where they had an event winner or a team relay win. So we've had a great national championship as usual. Your thoughts on, I mean, it was so tight. The form chart was so tight coming in here as to how many teams were in the mix, and you can see from the final results how close it was.
Well, it's fun to be a part of a championship race like this. A couple of standout performances from today. Sam Ogazi in the 400 meters and Nathaniel Ezekiel in that 400-meter hurdles. But I had a great time, and it's fun not knowing who's going to win this. It's not always that fun when you see a favorite just lead this thing from start to finish, but exciting there in the 4x4.
A couple of, repeat national champions. When you look at Brian Massow in the indoor-outdoor sweep for Oklahoma State, so impressive with what he did. How about the effort of Nathan Green to continue the dominance of the University of Washington over 1,500 meters as he wins his 2nd NCAA title. Always love to see a couple of new champions. James Corrigan of BYU, after an Olympic berth last year, gets his first NCAA title this year. And Sam Whitmarsh, what a story. His career at Texas A&M ending with a victory there in the 800.
Well, it's been a great men's couple of days. We got the ladies tomorrow for their final. Co-champions, USC and Texas A&M. We go downstairs to John for the official announcement to the crowd.
Okay, so sometimes these things take time, but we have it all sorted out. We want to thank everybody here at Hayward Field for coming out to support the men's final day. We look forward to seeing everybody here on Thursday. As always, the University of Oregon, a wonderful host for this championship. And now I'd like to introduce the committee chair for the NCAA track and field, Karina Handelin, who will now hand over the championship trophy. And don't you guys fight, because you'll each get one eventually. But for today, we will hand it to both USC and Texas A&M.
Thank you. On behalf of the NCAA, I'd like to congratulate Texas A&M and USC on winning the 2025 Track and Field Championship. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mike.
There you go.
So, Coach Henry, I'll start with you because you got a bunch of these, and Quincy's been waiting a long time. So I'm going to let him hold it while I talk to you first. Which is this thing, there's 21 events, and you got to race right to the end. Yeah. What did you tell your squad coming into today?
Well, as Quincy will tell you, when you start this track meet, for some reason or another, it comes down to the relay. And it did come down to the relay today, and we talked about it as a group. We knew what we had to do. The group knew if we had to try to win this thing, or this guy was going to win it. So it was a heck of a run.
You literally have dozens of these. What is it about this group that makes them special and unique?
Well, this is a competitive group. They were there. They were in the mix last year. They're a pretty young group, and so it's a regular group of guys. This group of guys is they have a lot of fun together, probably more fun together than most groups I've ever had. So I would say that's probably the little bit of a difference. This group is they really get along well, and that's ended up being what happened here today. Is they looked each other in the eye and said, okay, this is what we got to do, and that's what they've tried to do.
And they come through with a national championship. Coach Pat Henry, Texas A&M University. Let me slide over here now and talk to Quincy, because it's been nearly 50 years since someone from USC has held that trophy. What's that mean?
It's an awesome feeling for the program, the university, the USC community, all our fans, and these student athletes. They work their butts off, and I'm just so proud of them. It's a journey, and throughout the journey, you're going to have hurdles, and you're going to have adversity. But we had some adversity with one of my top guys, our 200-meter runner, Garrett. His hamstring wasn't feeling well, and I just gathered all the guys around at the training table, and we wanted to look him in his eye and let him know we had his back. And so we came out here for Garrett, who's been there for us all year. We're just a tremendous team, tremendous character, and hats off to A&M and Coach Henry. We've competed with them and went to 4 farms this year as well. So just a tremendous honor, and I'm so happy for my president, Dr. Fotis here, my athletic director, she's here, USC is in the house. So just appreciate it. It's a very gratifying feeling. I'm just so proud of this program.
So we think sprints, jumps. We don't want to single out one guy, but I'm gonna. How about our discus thrower, man?
Raquel, where? Yes. He's getting something to eat.
Getting his All-American.
But just a tremendous effort. Rock, he was hurt in the beginning of the middle of the season, so he didn't get a chance to compete at Big Ten. But for him to come out here, it just showed great character, and he had a tremendous PB. Coach Martin did a wonderful job with him. So again, just another one of our athletes just doing their best at the right time.
Coach Quincy Watts, USC, the Shield is back out in front in track and field. Congratulations. Coach, you said you had something else.
Wait a minute. You said the Shield. It doesn't say, it says we won up there. We're on top.
Listen, if y'all want to fight, I'm here to watch it.
No. I would rather have him running than competing against him. Because I used to compete against him on the when he was on the track. That was a little bit better than. He's doing a great job coaching. He's had some fine teams, and he's very, very competitive. His guys get after it. I mean, I want to thank my AD for being here today too. It's a brand new AD, and it's just great to have him here, Trev.
There you go. Thank goodness. Trev Alberts, you might maybe job security for Coach Henry after 36 national championships. Congratulations to both the Aggies and the Trojans on national championships.
Well, a fitting finish to these NCAA championships on the men's side. Shared national championship title between the Aggies of Texas A&M and USC. Congratulations to both Quincy Watts and Pat Henry of their teams for winners of the men's NCAA Outdoor Championships, as well as to the 21 individual men's event champion. Join us tomorrow when the women's team championship is determined. Coverage starts at 9 p.m. Eastern here on ESPN2. And don't forget, you can catch exclusive event streaming on ESPN Plus starting at 3:30 p.m. Eastern. For John Anderson, Dan O'Brien, Laura Overton, I'm Dwight Stones. See you tomorrow for Ladies' Day.